Ever hear the expression save money for a rainy day? Hmm. Or rainy day funds? Okay. There are a lot of songs that were written about the rain. Definitely. We talk a lot about rain, but let's talk about what to do if you're having an occasional rainy day. And I'll be back in a minute. Good morning. Good morning. This is Jan from New York City. Channel name is Jan from New York City Saves Money. I truly love, love, love helping everybody to keep some more of their own hard earned money. Could that be you? I always wish everyone a bright and sunshiny day. But in real life, guess what? Wah, wah. We have some rainy days. Now, we talk a lot about rain checks, like at the grocery store, or saving up for rainy funds, rainy day funding, which is a great thing. It's like sort of like a little bit of a cushion, sort of like a budget buffer, or even an emergency fund. So some people call that their rainy day funds. But let's talk about in practicality. Let's boil it down to this. There are days and there are days. And even if the weather is as bright as it could be, sometimes things happen to us in our lives. Like maybe we get a letter in the mail that we're not quite fond of, or or someone says something to you on the phone. You like scratch your head thinking, what did that person just say? Or you just feel slightly, and again, it's a reference to the weather, under the weather. There are days that we want to be kind of sort of pampered. And it is on those days, okay, it is on those days that we are the most tempted to spend more money. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong in an occasional splurge. Talking about now for people who could do all these things without blinking an eyelash, God bless you, God keep you. But I am focusing on the person or persons, or like many of us who are trying to achieve savings goals and eventually building wealth, etc., etc. What do we do when we kind of feel like, well, I'm not feeling great? This is where a stockpile comes in handy, and I mean like literally handy. You might decide on a day, or myself, to decide to take a bag, like a little bag. And this, by the way, idea was kind of sort of inspired by At Home with Lynn Wilson. Okay, Everyday Living channel. Wonderful lady, wonderful channel. And I remember a few times she had these like go to meals. Remember that video? If you have not seen that, I'm going to look that up and put that in my description below. Check it out. Check out her channel in case you've not been there. But I just want to mention this to you. And I remember that she said, like, because she's very realistic. And I love the realistic aspect of certain situations, and points out there may be nights like you just don't feel like trying to coordinate that meal. Sometimes, like, it's one thing like when you first wake up in the morning. I'm very perfunctory when I wake up in the morning. I'm just like ready, to take on the day. Da-da. That's why I am truly a morning person. But I'm not going to lie to you. After 5 o'clock, I start fading. Like, really, thank goodness for pre-recording episodes and stuff of that nature when I have a little bit more energy and alertness. Now, in the morning time, I have no problem on most of the days. Not saying it's perfect. There are some days I'll wake up, go, like anybody else. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, it's so easy in the morning for me to just like, oh, okay, I'll put this together, I'll put that together. Or I won't put anything together because I already cooked something. It's already done. And I could either take it down to be defrosted, or just take it from the freezer to my oven, or wherever I'm heating whatever the meal is up. And I'm already done because I already put in that little bit of effort. So I do recall that Lynn Wilson had mentioned, in that video, like there are those days when you just want to put those meal components together. I'm just curious to know. I would like to know on this quick tip Tuesday, what quick tips do you have in reference to those like mentally rainy days or actual rainy days? Some days it could be a real mess out there. You don't want to drive in it. The visibility is low. And sometimes when it gets like cloudy and rainy, you feel just as cloudy and rainy with you feel kind of like mellow, maybe just rather kick back and watch a video instead of getting in the car. You know what I'm trying to say? But anything to avoid the extra expense. So let's go with that idea of the meal kits that, like, Lynn Wilson pointed out. That's one way to do it. Let's go with the idea of the make aheads, like I always emphasize, especially the things that yield a lot of food at one sitting. For example, rice dishes. Okay. Those are great make aheads because rice yields so much, like at one time type thing. And of course, any one pot meal. Now, before you know it, and I'm glad to say it, at least in my area, before you know it, another month or so, come mid September, the weather starts cooling down, drying out. Usually, I'll make my first pot of soup for the season from scratch, usually about the second to third week of September. There's that little nip in the air, and you really, really, really start enjoying that cup of Joe even more. I could drink coffee all year long, but I'm telling you, my preference is when it's a little nip in the air and I want that first cup of coffee to warm me up, besides to wake me up too. So what do you do on those rainy days? Sometimes you just don't want to venture out into that stuff. Or sometimes literally, I mean, I'm not saying that you're going to have an earth shattering thing, but sometimes you have a stressed out day or maybe even like a low grade level headache. For some people going out and doing those things, it helps feel better. Some people just really just kind of want to go into a quiet room. So I want to hear from you on this Quick Tip Tuesday. What do you have ready for those go-to days? I'm curious to know. For me, like I said, it's like I like to quote, end of quote, manufacture my own meals because, as I have said quite a number of times, that I am the CEO of my kitchen. But at the end of the day, so is everybody listening to this. Okay. So another tip or trick to make life easier on those like quote rainy days, if you will, when you just like not 100%, you can't fail with a sandwich. A sandwich, it doesn't have to be traditional, uh, white bread sandwich. It could be wheat. It could be a pita bread, pita. It could be, I love to toast up my own pita bread like into little chips, put that on the side, maybe have a couple of roll ups, like some turkey slices, or I could just make, get a wrap, do a wrap like that. Or if I'm trying to watch carbs sometimes, I could wrap up things in a head of lettuce, take off the lettuce leaves and everything like that, and wrap up some deli meat and some, maybe tomato slices. Just do a wrap. Anything that is easy peasy on those rainy days and to not have to make that tempting phone call to me is so well worth it. Well, let's go beyond the rainy day and let's look at this lady who we haven't looked at in a little while, but she to me is very inspiring when it comes to saving. Hang on. Have an amazing, fantastic day. Take good care of yourselves and your family.